Amidst the Karnataka government's claim of extraordinary achievements in economic management and Deputy Chief Minister DK Shivakumar saying they will be rethinking the Shakti scheme, there's a report by moneycontrol.com that the state is facing a revenue deficit of 12,000 crore rupees and that the government is looking at internal funding options to reduce its dependence on the new loans. With about 90,000 crore rupees committed to welfare schemes like the Anna Bhagya scheme, which benefits a significant portion of the population, expenses have surged to unsustainable levels. According to the Chief Minister's economic advisor, subsidies and guarantee schemes require a review to curb rising costs. The report also suggests that the cash-constrained state government may establish an investment trust, issue bonds, and seek ways to reduce reliance on high-interest loans from institutional investors. Now, this approach is part of a proposal by the Boston Consulting Group aimed at offsetting the financial impact of 5 guarantee schemes introduced since Chief Minister Siddaramaya's government took office last year. Despite being among India's most cash surplus states, Karnataka has reported a decline in revenue since the GST regime was introduced, with a reduced share from the centre forcing the state to increase its borrowing to support its welfare and development programs. After all its expenditures, including repairs and maintenance, employee benefits and other expenses, KPTCL recorded profits of 723.43 crore rupees in 2022-23 as against 664.79 crore rupees in the previous year. Let's go across to my colleague Vaji Ullah, who joins us live on more on this. So, Vaji, the situation is quite confusing to say the least. On one hand, the Karnataka government claims it has achieved outstanding fiscal performance in the first 7 months of 2024-25, meeting about 53% of its annual target across 5 major revenue departments. On the other hand, there's a report that the state government is facing a revenue deficit of 12,000 crore rupees and is seeking internal funding options to reduce dependence on new loans. Now, the big question, million-dollar question here is, which version do we believe?
Good morning to everyone and a happy Diwali to all our viewers. To begin with, we'll have to understand the differences between these two reports. The Money Control report comes out on a source-based information, and this particular information that we highlighted about the Chief Minister's comes from the Chief Minister's office, and it indicates numbers that show us that how the Chief Minister's office has claimed that the Karnataka government has achieved 53% of their revenue in the last 7 months of their governance. If you remember, last year the government had a financial crunch. They had also taken an entire protest to the parliament saying that there was no proper GST returns that were given. The Karnataka government is not getting its due. That is when the Karnataka government did their own internal planning. If you remember, there were a lot of schemes with regards to your commercial taxes, with regards to stamp duty and all other registration, which is one of the ways in which the government gets its revenue. And when it comes to commercial taxes, the government had announced a scheme where it had asked people to come and do a one-time settlement, because there were a lot of people who had not paid their own commercial taxes, property taxes for years, for 15-20 years, and that amounted to a huge sum of money, and that was settled by the people over one-time basis, where the government gave them an option to give their commercial taxes on with a 50% discount and without any fine and arrears. So this helped the government get a lot of this helped the public to come and give their property taxes and commercial taxes, because people who had not paid for 20 years, 30 years, their taxes could have amounted to 30 lakhs or 20 lakhs, keeping in mind what their area is. But they managed to do it because it was the government had given them this scheme where they could cut it short to 5 crores or 5 lakhs or 6 lakhs. So this helped the government also, this helped the public also, and this is where the government has also shown how they got their revenue. And if we see in the last 1.5 weeks, the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Ministers have been doing regular meetings with all these departments, trying to get their expenditure. And the government has also warned various departments that they are lagging behind with regards to KSRTC or others. And they've also told them that in the next 5 months, they will have to make sure that they start showing surpluses. Apart from that, the government had also warned the officers that if they show any laxity with regards to their work, then from next month onwards, he would also start firing them. So there is a strict vigilance with regards to collection of funds by this government, and that is why they've been able to portray these numbers, and these numbers itself speak for themselves. On a budget where it is 1,92,000 crores, the government has managed to collect 53% of that budget, which is 1 lakh, a few thousand more than 1 lakh crores. So these numbers that have been sent by the Chief Minister's office clearly debunk the claim where 12,000 crore deficit is there, because the government itself is showing a 1 lakh crore return on their budget. So this is something that will have to be confirmed from the government, because this report highlights 12,000 crore compared to what the government is showing with regards to 1 crore surplus. Now, also on the other hand, the five guarantees that we've seen, yes, in the initial stages, that was the biggest crunch. We'd seen ministers come out, we'd seen parliamentarians come out and speak to the chief ministers, even vocally speak in public that yes, these five guarantees are weighing us down, it's stopping developmental work. All these challenges were there in the initial stages. And now also, if we see the subtle hint by DK Shivakumar saying that they are going to revisit, because a lot of people have told that this could have two connotations to it. One is that yes, there are people who are messaging and are saying that they would want to pay, though they have the capacity to pay, so they do not want some freebies. Well, that is happening on Twitter. We've also seen tweets where people have expressed their desire to pay. Women have expressed their desire to pay money for their buses. While on the other hand, the scheme is for a larger chunk of population which cannot afford bus fare also. So the government has now decided to rethink over this, and he spoke about this in.
Vaji, let me, my next question to you actually was about this. There's no smoke without fire, first of all, Vaji. Even though we believe that it's a source-based information, but I'll reiterate that there's no smoke without fire. Now, here, Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister Vaji, DK Shivakumar, says the government will review the Shakti scheme after several women commuters expressed a willingness to pay for their bus tickets. The question is, does it somewhere suggest the government may have misjudged public response, or is the real reason behind this financial constraints which the government might be facing?
Well, it's difficult to say whether the government misjudged the public response, because though in city areas where in the urban population, yes, people can afford these prices of buses. But if you go to the rural section of Karnataka, yes, there are a lot of places where a woman cannot afford bus tickets and bus prices, and that is where this particular scheme weighs in a lot, because it helps them to communicate, it helps them to commute between one place to another to their workplace without paying a single money to the government. And also, if you remember, the KSRTC initiative is a public service initiative. It is not something in which the government expects any return. And as we speak, the KSRTC itself is under the laws, and they've not been able to achieve. But this is something that the government has taken upon themselves, that yes, they would want to provide these free services to the women folk, so that it helps them come out and look for more jobs and more opportunities in the world today. So that is something that the government has initiated, and how it is transpiring on the ground is something very different, because yes, the numbers do show a significant dip in revenues. But on the other hand, it has also helped the public in a lot of rural areas where women have been able to commute to their workplace without paying a single penny. But in the urban areas, yes, the women folk have come out and said that they would wish to pay their amount. So that is where yesterday, while at the launch of these Volvo Eravat buses by both DK Shivakumar and the Chief Minister DK Shivakumar said that they are trying to revisit this entire thing of the Shakti scheme, because of responses that they've got. So they would like to see if they can come up with a solution where those who want to pay can pay, but those who cannot pay continue to enjoy the services. So all these deliberations are looked into, but how much of this weighs in on the budget is something that we'll have to see. But yes, in the initial stages, we had seen how these five guarantees had weighed in. It was not just we who said this, but the ministers and the MLAs of their own party had come out and said this. But now with the chief minister
Right.
releasing this report of their expenditure, it clearly gives us an idea of what the government is making, and how much losses are they incurring.